So, hello everyone. This is Betty Stojnic coming to you not live, but pre-recorded from Croatia. So, Cinetopia is well and truly displaced and delocalized. I have recently had the privilege to cover International Film Festival Rotterdam and would like to talk to you about it here and share some experiences and talk about some of the films that left an impression on me. IFFR, of course, is highly regarded in Europe as a festival that provides a space for really innovative cinema, often by new or relatively unknown talent, and this is particularly true of its trademark Tiger competition, which is the main selection that I will be covering today. This year's edition of IFFR was the festival's 50-year jubilee, which was unfortunately limited to online screenings and events for the time being. Fret not, though, because the festival will be back early June this year with physical events and a special anniversary program. Another interesting thing about this year's edition of IFFR is that it's the first under its new festival director, Vanja Kalujecic, who clearly had a lot of work ahead of her given the new online format. Still, I really enjoyed the festival myself, and I'm really happy to have been able to watch so many of the films. One of the perks of doing this online is that you can kind of just sit at home and stack like 4 films to watch one after the other before you've even had dinner, so I actually got to watch more stuff than I expected. Like I said, what I'd really like to focus on is the Tiger competition, which is dedicated to up-and-coming international filmmakers for whom this may even be their first ever foray into feature-length film. The competition was founded in 1995, and this year's edition of it included 16 films, with the jury consisting of Lemoang Jeremiah Mosese, Orvan Narabia, Hala El-Kushi, Helena van der Meulen, and Ilse Hugan. They were to decide which film receives the 40,000 euro grand prize and the 2 special jury awards at 10,000 euros each. One of the 2 special jury awards went to Icomet, A Corsican Summer by Pascal Tagnati. I would primarily describe Icomet as a slice-of-life film, which depicts life on Corsica through a series of vignettes, each of which is dedicated to the characterization of the people living on the island and their relationships and families. I personally enjoyed Icomet, but because of its episodic nature, I did feel like some of the storylines and character arcs were more interesting than others. The second winner of the special jury award was Looking for Venera by Norika Sefa, which is a coming-of-age story set against the backdrop of a small Kosovo town. Venera, the protagonist, is a teenage girl living in a multi-generational household with her restrictive and domineering parents. As she begins to explore teenagehood, Venera needs to learn how to be both independent from her parents and from the expectations of her own peers. I quite liked Looking for Venera. I think it was a rather conventional coming-of-age film, but I do think the setting gives it a very unique context of living in a community that is experiencing a gradual generational shift in terms of its traditions and values. Finally, the winner of the main Tiger Award was Pebbles by Indian director Vinothraj P.S. Pebbles follows a young boy as he wanders with his alcoholic father between villages in the hot, desolate outskirts in southern India.
சின்ன கூதி உள்ள உன் குண்டி திமிர இன்னைக்கு இறக்குறா இல்லன்னு பாடுறா எல்லாம் அதான் சொல்லி விட்ட படம்னா.
The relationship between father and son is kept tacit. The whole film is quite minimalist in its approach, and they embark on this short journey in a vividly hot and dry environment. I think it's precisely the environment of this film that likely got it the award, as it's quite unique, but also portrayed in a really visually masterful way, where the viewer is simultaneously aware of every crack in the ground, but also the totality of the image as this great big stretch of dry land and rock. Aside from the award winners, there are some other highlights that I'd like to mention. One of them is Chinese director Queen Elise Bipolar, which is a road movie about a young girl who rescues a presumed holy lobster from its display tank in a Tibetan hotel. Bipolar is the filmmaker's first feature film, and while it's pretty typical in its story beats and tone for a road movie, I honestly think it's a remarkable achievement for a debut film. The cinematography is excellent, and I really appreciated the emotional sincerity of it. I also wanted to briefly mention Marta Popivoda's Landscapes of Resistance, a documentary in the form of an extended interview with Sonja, who was one of the Yugoslav partisan movement's first female fighters and an Auschwitz survivor. I'm obviously from the former Yugoslavia as well, so this was a really moving and insightful look into what I consider the area's joint history and a really inspiring film for contemporary anti-fascists. Overall, I think the selection was really interesting, mainly because it was so focused on the places and communities from which these films come. I think it really made IFFR live up to the international in its name. Keep in mind, these are films that are often feature-length debuts and will have their imperfections, but I think it's a fantastic way to find out which filmmakers to keep an eye on in the future. So, those were my thoughts and recommendations for this year's IFFR. I hope all of our listeners are staying safe out there. If you'd like to read more about IFFR or find more information about the films, make sure to check out Cinetopia's blog on the topic. Once again, hello from Croatia, and now we can return to our regularly scheduled Cinetopia programming.